Hello and welcome to the Worship Band Builder podcast, where we are working with you to lay the foundation for skillful worship. I'm Eric Roberts, and I'm alone today. No co-host today. Sorry, guys. It just so happens that I'm going to be doing this episode alone, so we will miss you, Emily. And this is very rare to have just a podcast where it's just me, but travel schedules and everything get in the way. And, so we're just going to have to make it work. We're going to have to make it work, people. The podcast today is of three key elements to improving your live stream audio, and this is episode number 42 of the podcast. And so I'm thinking a lot about this, and this weekend we're doing a live series of webinars, so you can join those if you go to our website. The links are in the description for everything I'm going to talk about today, and I'm going to talk about three elements really to get a better live stream mix. And I know I talk a lot about live stream mixing, but I have to, because that's the way of the world. And we did this play back in the day. That's the way of the world, Belle. It's just the way it's going to be for a while. Live streaming is important. In fact, today there's a funeral going on, and we have there's a Zoom of the funeral. It's like nobody can get together anymore, so we're just all going to sit on the internet, which is fine. But you want to have the best sound, especially if you're the worship leader, the pastor, anybody who's like involved in this, or if you're a blogger, podcaster, whatever you are, and you're going, hey, I gotta put a live stream mix out that actually sounds good. So you're going to need some things. I want to talk about three elements today that are just quick things that will get into your mind the philosophy of getting better audio. Because a lot of people, I just got a comment the other day through email saying, look, it's a mess. We can't hear the guitar. We can't hear this. Can we just put some mics in the room so we can hear everything? And that's the email that I'm going to respond to today. But that the guy was saying, maybe things aren't coming through the live stream. We can't get our board working, and can't I just put a couple mics in the room? Okay, so you can probably put some mics in the room, and you probably should have some mics in the room, but that's not part of the three key elements. Maybe I'll make that my bonus element. The three key elements of a better mix. Number one is a mix environment. Okay, so this has to do with the actual the way you're doing it, because right now at the Church of Spring Hill, we're actually mixing from the sound booth. So we got a person with in-ears or headphones right there next to in the room with everything else that's happening. So it's hard. It's hard to hear. So our next step in January is going to be putting out the live stream environment, the mix studio across the hall, down the hall, so that we're not in the same room. So first of all, it's mix environment. Where are you mixing this? So if you're telling me that the mix is messed up and you can't hear stuff, or stuff is too loud and stuff's going on, stuff's going wrong, where are you mixing from? Are you mixing in headphones? Are you mixing? Because really, you're really actually just doing a studio. You're in a studio now. You're in a studio. You are a part of a studio environment. That's what you are right now. Okay, so having a set of studio monitors in a room where you have room treatment, have some foam on the walls, whatever, stuff like that, to where you don't get a lot of echo, and you're actually mixing it, then you would be able to tell before it goes out to the live stream if it's all messed up. What I think a lot of people are doing is they're just plugging in a cable from their mixer to their live stream phone, or to whatever they're doing, however, the live stream computer, and they're just hoping that it comes out right. Hoping that it sounds like something good when it's over, okay? But I don't think that's that cannot work. And that was suggested at the very beginning. Like, well, let's just plug from my team, and they're like, well, we'll just plug in a cable from the board, and we'll just let it be what it is. And I think that's what the go-to for a lot of people that aren't really versed in the audio world. So if you plug out the output of your mixer into your live stream, and you think that the sound that's going into the room is going to go into your computer and magically come out like a live stream mix, that is wrong. So you have to get your mix environment right, and you have to be mixing it specifically for the live stream. Now, on my website, I have diagrams showing you exactly how you would set this up, and it doesn't just happen all of a sudden. You're going to have to make some movements to set this up. The way we have it set up is X32 going into Logic over here, and then we have Logic over there where somebody's mixing in Logic, and that goes into the live stream. So there's a specific person mixing a very different mix for the live stream than that is going into front of house. So first of all, if you want to get a better live stream sound, you're going to have to get the setup that will help it be better. So you're going to have to get a mix environment, whether throw it in another room. I mean, if you have to, set it right there next to the board, put some headphones on. That's what we've been doing. Still getting pretty good sound, but I think we can get even better if we move it out. And be doing a specific broadcast mix. That's the biggest key. So everybody who's taking their mixer left, right, out, secondary out, and sticking it into their live stream is getting a bad sound. And there's even ways that people will say, well, we're doing an aux mix, or we're doing a bus mix where we're running it through a bus and then over there. That's fine. That's bare level minimum. Just get this sound into that live stream so it can sound right. That is not really doing a broadcast mix. That's doing an aux mix or a headphone mix into your live stream. Some of the flaws in that environment is you can't specifically maybe hear it. You can't monitor it separately. It's hard to do with two people on the same board. So you've got one guy mixing front of house, flipping back and forth between the aux mixes. I mean, there's a lot of different. I'm not saying it can't be done that way. I'm just saying it can't be done really good that way. Even if you're really good, you're going to struggle with that. I've done it before, and I've gotten pretty good mixes that way, better than average, but still not ideal. Okay. Let's go on to number 2, which is level. Okay, this is level. This is another sort of technical thing. But what happens is 2 things can happen. Either you turn on the Facebook feed and they're like, we can't hear, and we're turning our computer all the way up and we can't hear. Now, that happened to us before, and it could happen to us anytime if we're not specifically looking at output level. So the level that we're sending to the live stream has to be hot. Okay, it has to be up there close to the red. If it's in the real low yellow, or it's halfway up on the meter, then it's just not loud enough. And no matter how high they turn up their computer, they're probably not going to be able to hear the pastor sermon and stuff like it. It'll be real soft, like it'll be like talking like. So let's say I turn my broadcast mix down for you. Let's say I turn it down right here. I'm sending you almost a red to the top of the red signal, and it still could even be louder. Okay, but what if I turned it down like this? So now I'm just sending you this little mix like that. So you can still hear me, but it's pretty low. And what if I get it down here? Okay, so you can see that it just kind of takes all the energy out. Now imagine that in your band, where you have no more energy in the band. It's just really soft. No matter how hard they turn it up, it doesn't get any louder. You have to send out of your mixer into your thing. You have to know the gain structure. You have to be able to get as loud of a signal in there as possible without clipping. Now, if you go too loud, on the other side of that is a very bad thing called audio clipping. And maybe I can clip this here. Let's see if I can clip this here. If I get it too loud, then we'll get some clipping on the microphone. Check 1, 2, check. And I don't even know if I can clip this. Clip, check 1, 2. There's clipping, check, 1, 2, check. And so maybe you can hear what that sounded like. My system's set up to where it's hard to clip it. It's easy to clip it when we're singing and doing that. We've clipped it then. But you'll hear like little like, or you'll hear these, the voice will get like broken up, like it's being squished by a paper. I don't know. Clipping will do different things. Could just sound distorted. Could just sound really gross. If you get it really highly clipped, it'll just sound like they're speaking through a megaphone. So if you imagine the wrong level on the other side, you're running your mix and you think it sounds great, and you're not noticing that you're clipping the entire mix. Okay, and then it just sounds like you're playing through a megaphone, and it's bad. So level is very key. In other words, there's a very small window of acceptably good quality audio, and it's up there close to the red, but not clipping the red. Every meter is different, so you got to know that in my meter, that -10 goes red. So from -10 to 0 is red, but clipping doesn't happen till 0, till it reaches above 0. So I want to be in the red in general, and on average in the red. Okay, that's what I want to be on my meter. You're going to need to know your meter and be able to set an output level that is right for your meter. All of those things will make your live stream mix really, they are very key elements to success. Okay. In fact, if you do everything else right and you clip out the signal, then it will be bad. If you do everything else right, and you send a very low signal out to the Facebook feed, people will be like, oh, I can't really hear it. So it is a very specific key element to your mix. And the very third one is every input source. Input source. And there my mic clipped just a tad there. Input source is important. What do I mean? I mean every single instrument and every single microphone and every single input into your mixer has to be ideal, optimized, and good. If it's not good, every single source, like let's say for us, we have a bass drum, a snare drum, a hi-hat, a tom. All of those are individually mic'd. You know, it's not like we put mic over the drums, like there's the drums. Now, you can mic drums like that. I've done it like that before. We just throw two big mics over the drums and call it. But if you're looking for a really, really high-end broadcast mix, you've got to mic everything. So every microphone matters. Every input source matters. Every acoustic guitar direct box matters. Every microphone on a vocal matters. Every bass guitar input matters. Every keyboard, how you're miking or playing the piano, how you're inputting everything, every single one of those things matters. Let's imagine that you do all of this work and then you plug in your acoustic guitar player and you don't EQ them, you just plug them in some cheap direct box, which we have cheap direct boxes, that's fine. That's not really the biggest problem. Maybe his battery's messed up on his guitar, or his guitar is just cheap and it doesn't sound good. No matter what you do in the mix, every time you put that guitar in the mix, the guitar's going to run the mix. That's what I mean. Every little thing matters. Every little thing adds up to a good sound. And a few bad things can tear apart the entire sound. So my third and most important tip is every input source matters. And one of the engineers that I work with at my church, he's just like, well, what's the source sound like? What does it sound like? What does the actual bass drum sound like? You know, if it doesn't sound right in the live stream, if it doesn't sound right recorded, he's like, well, what's it sound like? And it's a good question. What does it actually sound like? What does the bass drum actually sound like if you just play it? And if you play it and listen and go, oh, it sounds like cardboard. Oh, it sounds like big wet blankets over top of it. Oh, it sounds like it's really loud. It's louder than everything else in the room. Then those are the issues. That's what I mean. The actual input source. Strum the acoustic. Solo out the acoustic. What does it sound like? The awareness of each input source in your mind as an engineer is going to cause your live stream mix to be good. What we had a problem with early on was vocal mics. You know, each one of our vocalists has a different style. We have a baritone, we have a tenor, we have a girl. Different people are gonna sound good on different microphones. So in the very beginning, when we started setting up our live stream, when COVID hit, we were like, oh, this is not a great mic for you. Maybe it was okay. We were just tolerating the microphone when we were in our other building doing live worship. But then we started listening to it each week on the live stream going, this is not the right microphone. So we went through microphones with our vocalist until we started honing in on when you sing through that microphone, you sound really good. Your voice sounds clear. It sounds crisp. That's the microphone that sounds good on your voice. Now, I'm a vocalist and I've always carried my own microphone. So I think you guys should start doing that. Bring your mic. Our female vocalist, worship leader, brings her own microphone, and every time she travels and plays, she's like, here's my mic. That does a couple things. Number one, you don't have to, play and sing through somebody else's stinky microphone, which I can't stand. So for me, it's just like, I don't want to sing through your microphone because it's gross, basically. My microphone becomes a part of my performance. I'm on it. I've got my nose on it. I've got my mouth on it. I'm probably spitting on it. It's probably got all the germs on it. It's very personal. It's like you wouldn't be like, hey, let me have a sip of your soda and just pass it around the vocal team, would you? No. So if you can do this, and you can, because every microphone, Shure SM58 Beta is about $150. So you could just be like, hey, each one of you vocalists are going to have to get your own mic and bring it. Or we have 6 mics. We're going to label them, and they're going to be your mic. When you come in, grab your microphone. Every church is different, but I'm saying input source matters. On our lead male vocalist, his vocal was boomy all the time. So we're not going to put him on the same microphone anyway. Now, sometimes you can think really granular, and you can think, I'm over analyzing every little thing. But then at the end of the day, you listen to your mix and everything sits in the right spot and you're like, wow, this is starting to sound good. The only way that happens in a broadcast mix is that every single little thing is dealt with on an individual level. Bass drum, snare drum, tom mic, overhead mic, piano input, piano tones, pads, every vocal mic up there, every guitar player's guitar, every bass player's input, every little thing that you're putting on the stage. And so it gets all the way down to consistency, and that's not really the thing is that every input source has to be good. The way I'm finding consistency, because we have pretty much the same band every week. We get a few people here and there, but mostly if you're in a church, you're going to have the same people coming. You're not going to have like 6 new people every week. That's unusual. You're going to have a lot of the same people up there every week, a lot of the same guitars. So you get to know these people and these instruments, and you actually set, on our mixer, we set EQs for each person. Like, this is your EQ, this is your EQ. And as we make them better each week, we just save them in every week into our mixer. So you know that when so-and-so XY singer comes up, you're going to use this EQ, this compressor, you're going to use, this guitar's coming up, you're going to use here. You get to know stuff. The other thing is with input source, you can go to the drummer. You can be like, hey, every week when you hit your snare drum, it sounds like a crack, like a paper cracking in the live stream. Like, oh, really? Yeah, it sounds like that. So what's going on? Oh, your microphone is sitting on the drum head. It's not off the drum. It's just sitting, mic placement and the right mics and just getting everything in and being very specific about every single channel coming in. In a live stream broadcast mix, as I've talked about before, it happens on the fly. For us, it really is live. In other words, the band starts playing. We have some rehearsal, but as the band starts playing, it is a live mix happening at that moment, never to go back to fix it. This isn't a recording where we're going to go back and record and edit it and mix it for like 6 months. If you think about the industry of music being produced on Spotify and on albums, this could be 3 months of mixing in a controlled environment, redoing parts, fixing things, redoing a bass drum, redoing a bass guitar part. So you're basically pushing out a live mix of your band at that moment, making those decisions, and then that is it. Whereas what we're used to hearing in public is we're used to hearing Spotify, where you have a lot of money being spent or not. I'm not even thinking about the money. It's not about how much expensive gear you have. It's about all of the input sources being perfect. You've got the Spotify record you're listening to, and you're like, oh, I love to listen to that. Then you listen to your worship band online, and you go, dude, well, that stinks, Well, that's because the Spotify album took months and months and months and months to perfect. Now, in my philosophy and how I'm working is every week I have another week to perfect. So every time something doesn't sound right in the live stream the week before, I'm fixing it for the next week, and I'm fixing it for the next week. So consistency is important. And if every week they tore it all down and set it all back up and gave me 10 new musicians, every week I'd have to be like, okay. And I'd be like, well, that bass drum wasn't as great, and it would be different. That's why I minimized the switch out of gear on the stage on purpose, so that each week I'm like, I know that bass sounds good. I know that bass direct box is solid. I know, whatever we plug into that is going to sound good. You're doing this for every single instrument, every single session. I know this guy, this guitar was really bad last week. I'm going to talk to him. We're going to see how we can fix that for our next live stream, because the live stream is what it's called. It is live. Now, if you want to know more about this at a granular level and watch my Logic Pro mix, then I'm inviting you to join me in my webinar. The link is in the description, but the webinar is at worshipbandbuilder.com/Wednesday webinar. But if you just go to worshipbandbuilder.com and then you click on specials, you click on webinars, worshipbandbuilder.com. And I know you guys can't see this if you're listening on the podcast, but if you just go to free resources, click on webinars, and you're going to find the webinar that is called Livestream Mixing Question and Answer Webinar. Okay, this is a livestream mixing question and answer webinar. So you can actually, if you come live, you can ask questions and I'll answer them. If you come after the fact, if you come to the replay, then you can see people were asking questions and I was answering. So you can actually always ask me questions through the YouTube channel, through sending me a private message, a direct message, what they call them, I guess a DM. So you call me, send me a DM. And then I'll be able to answer your questions and even go further and putting them into the next webinar series. So if you really, really want to get better at this, the 3 things we talked about today are mix environment. Number 1, get in the right environment. Get the right setup, okay? In the right environment to mix. Number 2, push out a really clean level, okay? Really good clean level. And number 3 is your input source. If it sounds good, it's going to sound good together. If it sounds like junk, it's going to sound like junk no matter how much you tweak on it. It's probably going to sound like junk. So work at the input source. Work at the source of the input. If it's junky bass sound, then it's probably the bass guitar or the direct box or something in the input source. And then when it starts to sound good, it's good. So join me in my webinar. If you like these, share this podcast with people. Pop over to your Facebook or and share it, or go on YouTube if you're listening on YouTube today. Just go ahead and click on share and share the video. Subscribe to the channel. That really helps us out. It extremely helps us out. It helps us lowers our cost of marketing and everything else when you just share the video, share the podcast, and ask me your questions. I'd love to know about it. You can go to worshipbandbuilder.com. You can also see all of our training is there, and we have a monthly membership where you get everything in a monthly membership. And hopefully I'll see you in the webinars. God bless.